Big vibes. Stay blessed, this is the boy Black Finesse. We back for another Mitsistudio video, man. 11 most brutal torture methods, Mitsistudio. This might be very graphic, so avert your eyes. This is gonna get real graphic. Animatingly. It's not a word, but it's animated graphic. Yo, it's the commentary is probably gonna be much more funnier because I'm starting like towards the beginning of Mitsistudio, so like the more we get closer, the funnier it's probably gonna get. But don't forget, I ain't forget about you, Yarn Hub. I'm coming to you, man. You feel me? Here we go. "11 most brutal torture methods." Jeez, the graph is probably gonna go crazy.
Sound torture.
Ooh, you know, death.
Archaeological evidence suggests torture was prevalent about 7,000 years ago in early Neolithic Europe.
Was he
Although
masturbating?
people were probably being cruel and torture frenzy for a while longer. Despite torture still being practiced across the world, most Western countries don't use it anymore. For example, the US hasn't used torture since Guantanamo Bay.
That's a lie. They still do it.
Became infamous for using
illegally.
loudspeakers to blast heavy metal music in a small room with a prisoner. Very cruel. Except for that one prisoner who was actually a fan of heavy metal. This torture technique
Can you even cover your
combined
ears?
with long-term isolation and is used to cause severe stress on a prisoner's mental state. Lingchi. Lingchi translates to various names like slow process, lingering death, slow slicing, or death by 1,000 cuts.
Oh, okay.
Not a
I heard that
convenient
before.
death if you were in a rush. This torture method was part of an execution process used in China around 900 AD. It was also used in Vietnam and Korea. The method was adopted to punish people who committed heinous crimes. In most cases, the condemned person would be strapped to a beam or pole. Subsequently, a knife was used to cut small portions of skin or small body parts. Vital organs or veins were bypassed to make sure the victim would not die prematurely. According to Chinese beliefs, the execution was also a punishment after death, because the body would not transit whole to the spiritual life. If you think about it, the not transitioning to spiritual stuff part might be the least concerning thing.
No, bruh.
If you were unlucky, the execution could last several days, and opium could be given to alleviate the suffering.
That's absolutely brutal. To not even let you die and you're still getting cut. Nah, that's sick. Sick work, bro. Like, nah, I couldn't live in those times, bro. That's how evil these jokers got.
Do you think
Just
shopping
off me, bro. Don't
feels
do
like
that.
torture on its own? Visit our Mitsi store and get some cool Mitsi merch today. We
Nice.
have tons of different things.
I might
like
give me
this
one.
big willy on a shirt, a little willy on a little shirt, a pickle hauber on your phone. Oh, almost
Oh,
forgot.
that's dirty. Yeah.
We also have normal stuff, so take your pick. If this promo didn't make you depressed yet, go to mitsistore.com
Not
and
depressed.
order now. Or keep watching the video. I mean, who cares?
Iron Maiden. They
Iron
basically burn you, right? Oh no, you get closed in
For
with
the
like spikes.
introduction of this next device, we go back to the 19th century. Although some historians have argued that the device did not actually exist. But for the sake of this video, we believe that it did. The Iron Maiden is a human-sized casket made from wood and iron spikes. The casket was made of multiple pieces that could be opened to allow a person to enter. The shape of the casket forced the new resident to stand upright for a long time. To make matters worse, the iron spikes would pierce the body of the poor chap inside. The length of the spikes was long enough to pierce the skin and flesh, but were too short to reach any organs or other vital parts. Obviously, this was done to make sure the victim would suffer during their stay, but not necessarily
So if you
die
get
a
sleepy?
quick death. Kind of like staying in a Park Plaza hotel.
Damn. What the?
Keelhauling.
Bro.
The name keelhauling comes from the Dutch word keelhalen. The invention of keelhauling was basically the result of being on a ship combined with Dutch ingenuity to come up with creative punishments with limited resources. The far-stretching Dutch-Asian trading routes had ships sailing the world seas for many months on end. Many cases of misconduct or mutiny broke out on these ships. To crack down on these revolts, captains enforced severe punishments on the agitators. With keelhauling, a long rope dragged the sailor under the hull of the ship. This method could play out in many ways. However, most outcomes were somewhere between bad and very bad. If it was bad, the sailor would be dragged along the hull, which was usually covered in barnacles. These would cause painful lacerations. If the outcome was very bad, the sailor could die from head trauma, hitting the rocking hull, or simply but obviously drowning, which is the worst nightmare for every Dutch person.
Oh, not only can you not breathe, but you get dragged.
Most people are not a fan of rats, and this next torture method is not going to change that. The most famous variant is the bucket rat torture.
Yeah, they put a bucket on you and start to burn it. Starts to bite on you.
A dark cell near the high water mark would draw in rats from the River Thames. The rats started to eat on the limbs of the prisoners while they were still alive, and not a very pleasant experience. During the Dutch Revolt, a pottery bowl filled with rats was placed upside down on the naked body of a prisoner. Hot charcoal was piled on the bowl, making the rats inside the bowl panic. Desperate to escape the heat, the rats would eat their way into the bowels of the victim. This process would be quite horrifying and extremely painful, making the victim die a slow death.
Oh,
Later,
man.
several
Oh,
South American dictatorships followed up
no.
on the rat torture, with Argentina refining the method to something called a rectoscope, with rats being inserted into a tube so the rats could gnaw their way into a victim's rectum, elaborating on the expression, not giving a rat's ass.
Not giving a rat's ass.
Crucifixion.
Oh, man.
Crucifixion. A bad thing if you're not into slow deaths, but great if you're trying to promote a religion. Crucifixion was a method of capital punishment, where the victim was tied or nailed to a wooden beam or cross. The victims would be left hanging until they bled to death, or just with the passing of time and not being able to run to a supermarket. This method of capital punishment was used by the Persians, Carthaginians, and Romans, among others. During Emperor Titus's invasion of Jerusalem, many Jews were nailed to crosses. This was done by Jew-hunting Roman soldiers, including Mel Gibson. As mentioned before, victims could be hanged for days, or exposed to the environment and being eaten by vultures. It is believed the most common cause of death during crucifixion was asphyxiation, with the condemned having serious trouble inhaling due to the hyperextension of the chest. The most famous crucifixion is, of course, the one where they hung Jesus, who died on the cross for our sins and promised he would come back for a visit. Didn't happen yet, still waiting.
Don't do that. Relax.
White room torture. No, not the new clubhouse name of the Proud Boys, but a torture technique using a small cell completely painted white. The effect on the prisoner's mental state would be significant over time. The prisoner would wear white clothing, eat white rice, and drink white milk. With the complete numbing of the senses, the prisoners would experience severe mental stress paired with hallucinations.
Really?
This torture technique works extremely well for interrogations and is believed to be used in Iranian prisons and by the CIA. The Iranian regime shrugs this off by being totalitarian, obviously. The US just calls it enhanced interrogation instead of torture. It seems both excuses work really well.
How does it really work? That I would want to know. Oh, they basically tie you up, leave you in there with honey and stuff like that, right?
Floating on water in a little boat sounds relaxing, right? Well, wrong. We are talking about Scaphism here, an ancient Persian method of execution and probably one of the nastiest on our list. Before the whole boat floating stuff,
they milk and honey.
Thereafter, you are strapped between two boats with your limbs hanging out. Next, you just get a small push, and there you are, floating on water filled with swarms of hungry vermin. With uncontrollable diarrhea. Do you want to see this anus? Join our Patreon for uncensored videos.
No,
let's move on.
We don't want to see this.
It wouldn't take long for the vermin to find their way inside the boat and start eating the passenger's body from the inside out. Yikes.
Bro, nah, dog. Nah, bro. Nah, bro.
Brazen bull.
This is so graphic.
The brazen bull, also known as the bronze bull, Sicilian bull, or bull of Phalaris, was an ancient Greek torture device designed in the shape of a bull, obviously. With one door on the side, the condemned was placed inside of it. A fire was set under the bull, heating up the metal structure, frying the victim inside. To make the whole process a true cinematic display, an acoustic apparatus inside the device converted the screams of the condemned into the sound of an infuriated beast. The inventor of the device, Phalaris, was later overthrown by Telemachus. Phalaris suddenly found himself locked inside his own designed bull of Phalaris.
Dang.
Now, literally. He would never hear his own screaming, just the sound of an infuriated bull. Bamboo torture.
Oh man, this is so crazy.
Bamboo torture, a kind of vegan colonoscopy, is a torture method that doesn't need many resources. The victim would be tied in a fixed position, overhanging one or multiple bamboo shoots. There are depictions of victims hanging in a horizontal position. A slower torture method is where the victim is hanging vertically. The bamboo shoot would grow up the victim's arse into his intestines. At this stage, the victim would probably still be alive, but wishing he wasn't. With a growing speed of roughly a few centimeters an hour, the bamboo would slowly pierce the upper torso, eventually killing the victim. Since the body is hanging on a stick, bamboo torture is ideal for cannibalism parties.
What the? Oh no.
Blood eagle. The blood eagle is a torture technique that appears
What the
in
hell am
Norse
I
literature.
watching?
A bunch of Vikings thought it would be a cool sight to chop open a man's back, sever his ribs from his spine, and pull their lungs through the gaping hole.
What
The
the
graphic resemblance to a
fuck?
bird shape gave this method the name blood eagle. Despite its appearance in Norse literature, there is no archaeological evidence to prove this method was adopted. For
Oh
example,
my god, my
finding a corpse
head.
with chopped up ribs and floating lungs would
What am I
definitely help.
watching?
What we do know from research is that the blood eagle was more of an execution than an actual torture method. The victim would have died long before he might have thought, damn, I look like a bird now.
What the fuck?
Check out our
Oh
new
my
store
head.
for cool Mitsi
Nah,
merch,
bro.
or join
Watching this got my head hurting, bro. Cause that is so brutal, bro. That's the type of stuff I couldn't live back then, bro. I couldn't. Hell no, bro. What? Bro, back was literally ripped open. You can hear they screams, bro. I couldn't, dog. I couldn't. I'd be scared, dog. Oh, make sure you comment and subscribe down below. It's your boy blkfinesse. We are out.